I honestly believed I had committed the perfect murder, sinking my problem deep into the freezing midnight waters of Lake Michigan. But the chilling truth was revealed to me by an absolute stranger on an overnight train bound for downtown Chicago. As the heavy rain battered the train windows, this smiling man proved that my flawless crime was actually his masterpiece. I am Dr. Arthur Vance, a retired criminal psychologist, and I always prided myself on understanding the darkness of the human mind. I was sitting in the quiet first-class car, watching the panicked crowd scrambling on the wet platform just outside my window. A man slid the heavy compartment door open, shaking off the storm, and introduced himself to me simply as Marcus. He recognized me immediately from my latest thriller novel, claiming he was a massive fan of my psychological crime theories. My ego took over, and I decided to play a dangerous game with this eager stranger sitting in the shadow opposite me. I leaned forward, staring into his eyes, and challenged him to find a single flaw in my absolute perfect murder. I told him it started when my beautiful wife Sarah hired a young, sketchy guitarist named Riley for some private lessons. Riley was arrogant, with a sly smile that instantly set off every single alarm bell ringing inside my paranoid head.
I just don't know what to do about Arthur anymore, Chloe. He is always watching me, hiding in the shadows.
I swear I could hear them mocking me whenever I left the room, their cruel whispers echoing down the hallway. One rainy afternoon, Sarah told me she was going shopping with her good friend Chloe, completely unaware I was tracking her.
Surveillance photographs captured the subject leaving the downtown shopping district at 3 in the afternoon, followed closely by the victim.
The real final straw snapped when I found an unread message on Sarah's phone from a cheap roadside motel outside town. I dialed the number in the dead of night, my heart pounding as a familiar, cocky voice answered the line.
"Yeah, this is Riley. Who the hell is calling me at 2 in the morning, man? You better start talking."
My blood ran completely cold, and I hung up the phone, knowing exactly what I had to do to him. I lured Riley to a private boat party late at night, under the false pretense of hiring him for a gig. Close to midnight, I pulled him aside to the empty lower deck, away from the loud music and the drunk crowd. The freezing wind was howling as I confronted him about my wife, watching his pale face drop in a terrified expression.
"I swear I never touched her. You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. Please just let me go."
He tried to run, but I swung a heavy iron wrench, intending to strike him hard against the side of his head. He hit the wet metal deck with a sickening thud, gasping for air as I stood completely motionless right over him. I wrapped thick iron chains around his completely lifeless chest, ensuring the deep, dark waters would keep my secret hidden forever. I shoved him over the edge, watching the splash as he sank rapidly into the absolute silence of the icy lake. I finished my story, leaned back in my comfortable train seat, and asked Marcus what he thought of my flawless execution. Marcus just sat there in silence for a moment, a deeply unsettling smile slowly creeping across his young, calm face. He took a slow sip from his water bottle and told me that my story was beautiful, but completely flawed. He leaned closer to me, his voice dropping to a whisper, and asked me how I could be entirely sure. I arrogantly listed the mall sighting, the hotel receipt, and the late-night calls as evidence that confirmed my worst suspicions. Marcus chuckled softly, tapping his fingers against the window glass, and said the perfect murder leaves the real killer totally clean. He then proposed a hypothetical scenario that instantly filled me with fear, making my hands start trembling uncontrollably in my lap.
"What if Dr. Vance, the musician, wasn't actually sleeping with your wife Sarah, but was secretly sleeping with her friend Chloe?"
What if Chloe's husband found out about the dirty affair and wanted to murder Riley without getting his own hands bloody? The train rattled violently as Marcus explained how this theoretical husband knew all about my obsessive jealousy and my psychological background. He told me this husband convinced his wife Chloe to invite Sarah shopping, knowing I would follow her every move. He knew I would see Riley hanging around the mall, immediately planting the toxic seed of doubt deep in my brain. I felt a cold sweat breaking out on my forehead as Marcus casually described the husband stealing Sarah's mobile phone. He used her stolen phone to call Riley's number 39 times, creating a fake digital trail for me to discover. Then he intentionally left Sarah's phone on my kitchen counter, absolutely certain my paranoid mind would search through her messages.
Phone records from December provided evidence of 39 outbound calls from Sarah's device to the victim, routing through local towers.
The pieces were snapping together like a horrific puzzle, and I felt sick to my stomach as Marcus kept talking. Marcus smiled warmly and explained how the husband deliberately booked the roadside motel room using Sarah and Riley's names together. He even called my house pretending to be the motel receptionist, making sure I heard everything I desperately needed to hear. I was practically hyperventilating, staring in pure shock at the stranger sitting so casually across from me in the dim shadow. It meant that every single clue I had found was a carefully crafted lie, designed to turn me into a weapon. Marcus zipped up his heavy jacket, looking at his watch as the train began slowing down for the next stop that night. He stood up slowly, grabbing his leather bag, and told me that my perfect murder was actually his perfect alibi.
I never touched him, Arthur. I swear to you, I only went shopping with Chloe. Why are you doing this?
The echo of my innocent wife crying played in my mind, a crushing weight of guilt slamming into my chest. I sat completely frozen, unable to speak or move, as Marcus stepped out into the narrow hallway of the train.
You destroyed our entire life based on a complete illusion, Arthur. You let your sick paranoia turn you into a monster.
As he disappeared outside, the train doors slammed shut, locking me inside a terrifying prison of my own psychological making. I grabbed the newspaper he had been writing on earlier, desperately hoping to find a clue to his real identity. My eyes scanned the top margin where he had aimlessly doodled with his pen while listening to my stupid confession. There, written in plain blue ink, was the name Marcus, the husband of my wife's best friend, confirming my absolute nightmare. He wasn't a hypothetical husband. He was the ghost who pulled my strings and made me murder a completely innocent man. The police investigation into Riley's disappearance went totally cold, exactly as Marcus had meticulously planned from the very first day.
The lake search yielded zero physical evidence, forcing the unit to classify the sudden disappearance as a standard missing persons case.
I am now living every single day with the unbearable knowledge that I am a killer who ruined his own life. I can never tell the police, because confessing means admitting I killed a man in cold blood over a total lie. Every night I hear the loud splash of the water, and Riley's terrified screaming echoing in the darkness of my bedroom. I look at Sarah across the dinner table, knowing I betrayed her trust and shattered our marriage for absolutely nothing. Marcus is still out there somewhere, living his perfectly normal life, entirely free of consequence or guilt for what he did. I thought I was the genius predator hiding in the shadows, but I was nothing more than a pathetic, blind puppet. The perfect crime doesn't belong to the man who swings the weapon. It belongs to the man who paints the target. If you ever meet a friendly stranger on a train who loves psychological games, you better keep your dark secrets hidden. You never know when the calm person listening is the actual hidden architect of the very worst fear you just survived. Because true monsters don't hide under your bed. They smile at you from across a quiet table while destroying your life. If this story stayed with you, please subscribe, hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear this. I'll see you soon.